This is our first recording of 2023, for those of you listening in the distant future.
It is too, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Episode 121. And Tim, the question on everyone's lips will be, did Tim break the KFC Fast, as promised, New Year's Day or soon after? Did you break the fast?
I did. On New Year's Day. For dinner that evening.
Yes.
Whew, a long wait, a whole year. And it was, well, do you want me to tell you now?
No, because people, Tim has made recordings. There are photos and recordings of the breaking of the fast, and we're going to do that in the latter part of the show. You can listen to the moment that the herbs and spices finally pass Tim's lips once more. Will he lick his fingers is the question everyone is asking. We'll find out later on. Stay tuned.
You will remember when I attempted to make some at home that while I thought it was reasonably successful, I didn't particularly enjoy it. And there, of course, has been a...
What part of later in the show did you not understand, Tim?
No, I'm just... I'm just building it up too much.
We're going to spend 20 minutes building it up now, and then we're going to do another 20 minutes later. We will talk all things KFC later in the show.
Oh, dear.
A traditional thing that happens at the end of the year, and it happened at the end of 2022, is you start seeing all these videos and articles and web pages about people who died during the year. And 2022 was a big one. There were lots of big name deaths, I thought. More than usual that I recognised and that were of some significance to me. We've already talked about some of them on previous episodes of the Unmade podcast. And I'm guessing, Tim, this is going to be a thing that happens more and more now. As we get older, the people we grew up with as our celebrities and heroes are starting to die. So we're going to get more and more of people dying that we go, oh, wow, I remember them, and less of the, who the heck was that? I don't remember that 1950s band that had one number one hit in Sweden.
Yeah.
And we also had a few last-minute deaths. After all those videos and articles had been prepared, we had sneaky people like Pope Benedict getting right in at the end of the year. So all those videos and articles had to be redone.
Yeah.
Barbara Walters was another one. The TV anchor died right at the end of the year. So it was a year jam-packed with notable passings.
Well, I have to say, when you said that, I quickly thought, has there been a lot? And I Googled and suddenly the Queen came up and I went, oh, yeah, that's right. Fair enough, yes.
The Queen.
Yes,
Queen
the
was
Queen
a big one.
and a Pope.
Shane Warne, of course, the Australian legendary.
That's right, yeah, that's true.
Pelé, probably the most famous soccer player, footballer ever.
Even I've heard of him.
And then I awoke this morning to a message from Tim to have one of the first notable deaths of 2023, a legend from our childhood that we have mentioned on the podcast before.
Yes.
People outside Australia might not know who this guy is, but we certainly do.
Well,
Carey Young. I didn't know his surname. When you sent me the article saying Carey Young, I was like, who the heck is Carey Young? I just know him as Carey, like most people. And he was one of the great quiz show players of our time. He featured in this show called Sale of the Century, where you answer general knowledge questions. And Carey knew everything, and he knew it quick.
In which large country is the city of Minsk? Carey.
Soviet Union.
Right. What nationality is explorer Sir Edmund Carey?
New Zealander.
Correct. Of which?
And he won everything, and then he'd come back for the Champion of Champions edition, and he'd win that. And then he'd come back for the Champion of Champions edition, and he'd win that. He was an absolute machine on Sale of the Century, and we are sad to mark his passing at the age of 83.
Which acid is also called vitriol? Carey.
Sulfuric.
Correct.
Yes, it was sad when I saw it. Just to look at him instantly, even in his later years, as you look at the eyes and go, well, there he is. I spent a long time watching this person on television. Because, of course, this goes back to an era when I think probably the last decade when quiz shows really captured the public imagination. Because I remember my parents talking to my neighbours about him.
Oh.
The fact that we knew him and was discussed at school and he was a familiar face.
He's going for the cars tonight. He's going for the
cars. That's
tonight.
right.
He's going for the cars. Tuesday night, Kerry's going for the cars.
I know. That was...
And in Start of the Century, you had your general knowledge questions. You had Fast Money, where the questions were asked really, really quickly, and he was really good at that. But you also had your pick of the board question, where they asked a sort of a who am I? Yeah, who am I? And they would read a biography of someone. You know, I was born in 1976 at Glenelg Community Hospital. I went to this school, and gradually you'd have more and more information released about this person until it was, of course, now I know who it is, when some obvious piece of information was given away. But Carey was legendary at the Who Am I's, because 9 times out of 10, he would just get it from the birth year. They would say, Who am I?
Yes.
I was born in 1830. Mark Twain.
Incredible.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
I like that he kept the beard his whole life as well.
Yeah.
So he could still, this signature sort of beard. And he was a nice guy too. He was a very nice kind of person.
Was he? I don't remember him being nice. I remember him being a bit more businesslike. I always thought he was a bit more brusque than some of the others. And he had that kind of hunched posture, that sort of sideways hunched posture over the big red buzzer that he had to
right,
press.
he did too, didn't he? Yeah, he had his own style.
He had an unusual stance.
Reading today in the newspaper of his passing, I was surprised to learn, a little bit disappointed, I think, that he used to train for Sale of the Century. So he would actually practice and he'd do lots of research and read up on encyclopedias and then sit there at home. Now, I kind of feel like that goes against the spirit of Sale of the Century, because the rest of us are just wandering in from our day. We plonk ourselves down and we're tested under those conditions. But you can't be rehearsing and studying.
Yeah, but it's like you're watching the Super Bowl. You don't want the players playing the Super Bowl to have not practiced. You want to see specimens at their prime. But also, how do you research for Sale of the Century when the subject is everything in the universe? Like, how do you revise every piece of knowledge that can exist?
Well, I think he did focus quite a lot on people. The article talked about him memorising names of people and what they've done. So it was notable people rather than, which rock formation, etc., etc. But you are right. There's a sense by which it has to be accessible enough to be interesting for ordinary people sitting around having their dinners in front of the TV at home. Because if you don't feel like you're going to get any of them, you're not going to watch, are you? So
No. Easy quiz shows are the best because you can just sit there and boastfully answer questions.
Feel like a legend there.
Do you ever do that with your daughters? Like sit there and answer questions and they look at you in awe thinking, oh my God, Dad knows so much.
Yeah, the days of looking at me in awe have passed, and days of looking at me either in horror or sympathy
disdain
are starting to very much become the common experience. But I can't help feeling the feeling of smugness when a show comes on like that. Particularly in Australia, we have a few music quiz shows like that, and that's just the one sliver of pop culture information that I seem to dominate at.
Right. Well, rest in peace, Carey.
Yes, he gave us
Legend.
a lot of joy. Stayed with us. It's not many people you can watch as a contestant on a quiz show as a kid and remember him 30 years later.
There was another one. I think I mentioned it. There was another one who was really good on Sale of the Century called Virginia, and Virginia's son got in touch with us once and said, was listening to the podcast and says, "Oh, this is my mum." She was a really famous one too. I think I've mentioned that before. So, if your parent was a winner on Sale of the Century, especially if they ever won the lot, we'd love to hear from you.
I'd love to meet Tony Barber. Is Tony Barber himself still alive, the original host? Surely.
I think he is.
Oh, looks like
he is.
Yeah, no, there he is. Yeah, no, he's still alive.
I think of all the deaths in 2022 that hit me hardest, and there were a lot. There were a lot of big names. Angela Lansbury was a huge loss.
I remember you noting that.
Yeah.
Because your family used to watch Murder, She Wrote quite a bit. I knew of her, but I never watched an episode.
Oh, Angela Lansbury. Jessica Fletcher, legend.
She's one of those people I feel in the zeitgeist is always old. Like she was born old.
Yeah.
She's only been famous as an old person, and she's been like the ladies on the Golden Girls. They were always old, and it's like, we'll get those actors because they've been old with grey hair since they were young, even. But people in the olden days were old, though, weren't they? Like
there was recently some research done into that as to why people in the olden days look older than now. Like there's some reason for it. There was a whole big thing about it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Why do people in the olden days, even when they're young, look old? There was some good reason, which completely escapes me at this point. Now, ideas for a podcast? Should we do our usual thing?
Yes, indeed. I forgot that's on the list of things we do. Yes.
Yes, it's still somewhat a part of the show.
I wonder if there's an idea for a podcast in tracking down people who were sort of famous from your childhood but have disappeared. Like Tony Barber just now. I would love to interview Tony Barber. What are you talking about, man?
I reckon I spend 3 hours every day Googling people that fit that category.
Oh, really?
I'm forever checking their whatever happened to Bruce Samazon, things like that.
Oh, like, Bruce Samazon. What's he doing now?
Yeah.
Well, more importantly, Melissa Trautz. Yeah. Much more important.
Yeah, I spend hours Googling. And cricketers, what did cricketers do after their career? Where are they now and stuff like that? I am forever Googling people from my childhood. The problem with that as an idea for a podcast is it's very specific to me. Like, I don't think most of the people listening right now know who Bruce Samazon is, yet alone care. And I think me saying there was this guy who was an actor in soap operas and then he was a flash in the pan and he disappeared and now I'm going to find out where he is now. People don't care where he is now because they don't know who he is in the first place.
But I think that's close enough. Like, that could be two things. Firstly, it could be more universal. So Angela Lansbury, let's say if we had this idea a year ago, is known by slightly larger people than just you and your family. But there's a whole lot of people, you could make them the people from your life. So the fact that people don't know who Bruce Samazon is makes him an interesting interview. It's like, Brady wants to interview this person, and you actually learn about a whole other person. In other words, he has the interest point because you've chosen to have him on there. Same with Carey. Imagine if you'd had Carey on there and people would be like, who is this guy? And you're like, well, you were my, the sort of champion of champions of Quizmasters in my mind when I was young. And people would find that interesting.
Yeah.
Who's the most obscure person that you could think of?
I very often look up cricketers who only played like 1 or 2 matches for Australia and find out, what did they do next? Things like that.
Oh, yeah. There's a guy called Michael Tunn. Do you remember Michael Tunn?
Oh, yeah. He was that young kid that hosted a music show on the ABC, Tunny.
He
went on to Triple J and all that. Yeah, he hung around for ages as a radio presenter.
Well, that's right. He was doing that afternoon show on the ABC when we were young, and then he went on to Triple J. He's only like 2 years older than us. He was the first person I saw wear a hypercolour T-shirt on TV. But he...
You never forget your first.
He was no doubt also wearing happy pants that day as well. But I'd like to have a chat with Michael Tunn. I'd find out what's going on with him.
Not for broadcast, but...
Oh, well.
Anyway, all right. Let's get down to business. Let me give you my idea for a podcast today.
All right. Bring us back onto the mainstream. Safer ground here.
I do the grocery shopping in our house most of the time.
Right.
I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy going to the shops with the trolley and just going up and down the aisles. I find it quite relaxing and peaceful. And I don't make a shopping list, by the way. I kind of know what to get. I have this thing because I get all the time. And then I do a few freestyle on a whim purchases as well. But anyway, I went the other day and I got my trolley. And as I pulled my trolley out, someone else had left their handwritten shopping list in the trolley from when they had done the shop before.
Yeah.
And I just looked at this person's shopping list, this big long piece of paper with all this stuff written. And that gave me my idea for a podcast, which is called Other People's Shopping Lists. And basically, I don't know exactly where I want to take it. There are two ways you could take it. One would be you just get someone on the podcast with their shopping list and discuss it with them. Oh, why do you buy that? Why do you get that? Another idea, if you wanted to be more extreme, would be you have to shop the other person's shopping list and live off it for a week.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind.
But that feels a bit more like a TV show. That's a bit more TV showy. I like the idea of just getting someone in with their weekly shopping list. Today we've got Tim Hine from Adelaide, South Australia. Here's Tim's shopping list. Talk us through it. And you're like, well, I always get a lot of bananas because I like them at work. We always get this drink because it's my daughter's favourite. We always get this. It was a childhood meal I liked. I think it would be interesting to hear what other people buy in their weekly shop and why. To see if there's any interesting stories to fall out of it. Some of it's just going to be boring. We get milk because that's what we put on our cereal. But other things could be, I always get this brand of this because I've got this funny story. And I think there could be fertile ground here.
I think you're right. I think the everyday items themselves are little doorways into backstories and reasons. Why do you get that particular brand, or why do you get Promite but not Vegemite, and these sorts of slight variations, and what appears every week, but what's a rarity, or what things are the sort of as a special, when you talk about getting something extra, it's a bit like, oh, I shouldn't really get that, but I'm going to this week because it's a bit of a bonus purchase, a reward, that sort of thing.
Are there any things on the Hine shopping list that would catch my eye?
Before I get into that, can I just say this is a time to verbalise one of my frustrations with the shopping list in the Hine household, because we have an ongoing list sitting on the counter at a particular area of the counter, and it's like, if you want something, you don't call out, hey, next time you're shopping, the rule is you have to go down and write it down, which is fair enough. So it sort of gets built on throughout the week, and then my wife does the shopping for food in our house. The frustration is that it's not a long piece of paper. It's about the size of a Post-it note. So it's a pad, and it's square pad. It's slightly larger than a Post-it note. But then there's only room for about 5 things to be written on there. And so then that one gets ripped off and put next to it. And then things are written. And then the next one's... So by the end of the week, there's 4 or 5 pieces of paper floating around this end or this general area of the kitchen. And if I was in charge of the shopping, it would drive me crazy. Because I'm like, they don't stick. There's nothing sticky. So it's not like it's a nice Post-it note kind of list or anything like that. They're just floating around, and then they're grabbed.
Why don't you buy one of those notepads that is like shopping lists and you rip one off each week? Yeah.
Look, there's 100. There's 100 more rational ways to go about it, but I'm not bringing it up with my wife. I'm not that courageous. There must be a reason, and the reason probably is that this pad is there, and I think the rationale probably is that it doesn't take a lot of room. But of course, whereas an A4 pad, big notepad, would take more room. But by the end of the week, they're covering a similar kind of area on the bench top because they're all sort of spread out, and they get blown when you put down a cookbook. Boom, then they fly off, and it's a very unreliable, haphazard sort of system. And yet I dare not speak into it, I tell you.
I don't think your wife's got a clue. I don't think she knows what
You mustn't mention this to her.
I totally am. You've just spoken about it on the podcast to dozens of listeners.
She doesn't listen to this.
Quick impromptu advertisement, Unmade podcast branded shopping lists are now available. Take a look in the notes for this episode for the link. And as a bonus, if you want, I'll add a few of my personal favourite items to your first list.
But anyway, that's going a bit meta. That's as to how the list is actually put together. But it does mean she goes off to the shops with 4 or 5 of those little pieces, and maybe as they're, I don't know, crossed off or something, they're thrown in the air over a shoulder or something. I don't know.
Is having something written on the list a guarantee of purchase?
Yes.
Right.
Which is very handy. There's no jury or, panel of people to get through. Why do you want that? When does that need that? At the age of 46, I've managed to exert enough authority to buy something.
Your wife sent me a picture of you consuming something the other day that inspired me, and I have since purchased it, and it has become my new addiction.
What's that?
And I had them shipped from Australia, even though you can get them everywhere. I went for the specific Australian version, and that is Zupa Dupas.
Yes.
I'm so into Zupa Dupas at the moment.
Oh, they're so addictive. Probably
You want
because
to tell
they're
people
pure
what
sugar.
Zupa Duper is?
Well, a Zupa Duper is, we call them like an icy pole, but I know they're called an ice lolly. Is that right?
An ice lolly.
UK?
They're basically a sealed plastic tube at both ends, filled with coloured lolly water, sweet cordially lolly water,
Yes.
frozen, and then you just snip an end off and half suck, half chew the ice. I'm more a chewer and biter of the Zupa Duper.
Oh, yeah, I am too. I've become more aggressive in my more recent years.
Because if you suck it, all you do is you suck the flavour out, and then you're left with that kind of just white iceberg of no flavour that no one
That's
wants
right.
to eat.
That's right. It's just snow then, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
they are
loving the
very
Zupa
nice.
Duper. Great flavours. Yeah. So I had them specially shipped in from this Australian shop that imports Australian childhood confectionaries and things.
Oh, that's cool. They do take. I mean, there is a bit of a time between spent that's quite torturous between arriving home with them, putting them in the freezer, and then waiting 24 hours for them to be cold enough to have one.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I couldn't wait, and I'd pull one out and just like drink down the cordial before it's frozen, which is an ultimate sign of a lack of patience.
There's also, this is not quite such a big window, but it's another small window of frustration. And it's the window between when you snip the end off and it's become unfrozen enough for you to be able to slide it out of the plastic. So for
Yeah.
the first few seconds, you can't get at it. You can't get
You're pushing
to it.
at
You're
it
like biting
with
the
your
plastic,
fingers.
and you're biting the plastic and pulling at it and desperately trying to get at it. Yeah.
I have to say, our freezer the unmistakable sound of our freezer door being opened can be heard from anywhere in the house. And yeah, we need to buy another more quiet freezer with a more quiet freezer door hinge because
So you can get your Zupa Dupas without being caught.
That's right, yeah. And those plastic after they're finished, it's a piece of plastic. Terrible for environmentally, to be honest. But they'll be sitting, around the edges of the couch,
Yeah.
like evidence of a crime. And you got to make sure that you clean those up and get them away. But they're clear, so it's also you can miss them and get busted later by the kids.
So, what is typically on the high-end shopping list that might surprise me?
Look, we eat pretty healthily, and obviously for the last year it's urged towards the vegetable and the vegetarian. Lots of fish. But that's nothing particularly surprising.
What sandwich spreads do you like?
We eat a lot of cheese, so we buy a lot of cheese, and I have a lot of cheese toasties as sort of a lunch, that I'll throw in a cheese sandwich, which I'll toast up at work. Tuna, I eat a lot of tuna, so I'll take them to work and eat them as well.
What's the sweetest thing on the list?
Look, there's always a few different ice cream flavours. We are much more luxurious in our ice cream flavours than my parents were when I was a kid. And there's also quite a large tub regularly of Nutella.
Yes.
Nutella is overseas? That's known in other places?
Nutella's from overseas, man.
Right, okay. But I don't know from where it comes. I can't stand it myself. The nutty hazelnut does nothing for me. But a couple of members of the family are addicted to it.
I never associate the taste of Nutella with nuts. I always just think it's kind of chocolatey. I know it is. I mean, its origin was when there was they couldn't make chocolate stuff. They started making this stuff out of hazelnuts that it was chocolate-like. But I always think it's chocolatey to me,
We go through a lot of peanut butter because we use the peanut butter as a means of getting medication into our dog, and our dog has to take Brooklyn has to take medication every day at the moment, a tablet. So in the morning he gets a big fingered goop full of peanut peanut butter.
Is the medication for some medical thing or because he's just a bit crazy?
He's a bit crazy. It's just to calm him down a little bit.
Valium.
He's been a bit... It's not Valium, but it's been a bit anxious. So he's had to take something for that. So, that's a meat. We smuggle that down into his mouth with the peanut paste, and he spends about 15 minutes licking his lips after that. He really likes that. But means we go through a hell of a lot of peanut butter.
Right.
The 2 fingers into the peanut butter jar are a pretty regular occurrence on other occasions, other times of the day as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some... what things are you tempted by? You know, when you're going along and you are freestyling, which is an amazing way to go shopping. Very undisciplined.
No, because I just go up and down the aisles and I know all the stuff to get, and then...
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 things I'm specifically told to get, but normally I can be trusted. I don't know, it's nothing. Lots of vegetables for my wife. I have to get all these vegetables that I will never eat. And they're the first couple of aisles. I'm just going through mentally in my head. Start with the blueberries and the raspberries, the bananas and the apples, the avocados, and then down past the salads. I always have to get her a cucumber. Then I might get myself a jar of anchovies for my pizzas during the week because I like chucking a few anchovies on. So I usually get myself a little jar of anchovies. I always get myself 1 tin of a seafoody soup, like a seafood gumbo or a clam chowder.
Oh, nice.
And I always get myself 1 packet of prawns, shrimps for me. Again, that I will usually eat on a pizza.
Do you have a nice pizza maker?
No, we just do them in the oven. I'll sometimes get myself like a jar of sweeties, like, lollies, sweets, as a little treat for myself.
You know, for Christmas, I got a little pack of lollies, of the ones I like, strawberries and cream, and I've put them into a special little Tupperware container and put them in a special drawer in another part of the house because I just really want to enjoy them myself from time to time and not be raided by the rest of the family.
They wouldn't last a day with me.
You would eat them. You'd eat all these lollies at once.
I can't. Easily, I would eat a packet of strawberries and cream.
Oh, well, I could eat them like that. Probably not in a day, but I could eat them very quickly. But I like the fact that I put them in this drawer, which has other functional electronic stuff, like phone chargers and stuff that's just my stuff. That I go to and I go, oh, yes, I forgot I got those. It's like a little fantastic surprise. Nice. Do you get your meat from the supermarket or do you get it from a special butcher?
I don't get very much meat at all. Because my wife's vegetarian, I don't really eat meat at home much at all.
Right.
So we don't really buy meat in. Most of my meat eating is done out and about. I'm more of a hunter.
Do you get on the prairie? That's right.
Yeah. Just Brady chasing a zebra, bringing it down, desperate for just a gnawing on its leg.
Trolley in one hand, zebra in the other. Do you get all your shopping done from one sort of supermarket then? You don't go to like a villagey area where like, oh, I'm going to Mr. Spots, the butcher, and then another place? No, it's all
one big
place.
Supermarket. Yeah, one big supermarket.
Right. When you're leaving the supermarket, you know how they kind of sometimes sell flowers? Do you ever bring flowers back for your wife?
Not often. If I get flowers, I'll get them from like a florist or somewhere that does them a bit more bespoke, so I can tailor them to her needs.
Right. And you know how they also, alongside that area as you leave, have those little rides, the little rides where you put like $1 in and you go around.
Yeah.
Do you ever go on that now you're grown up and you've got the money and can do whatever you want?
I don't go to that level of supermarket, man. I go to the posh one.
They don't have any rides for kids at all?
Not the one I go to, no.
Oh, man. Well, I question whether it's a posh supermarket, man, if there's no rides.
Do you know what I've learned in the last year? This is a bit of a snobby thing to say, I realise, but it's just something I have noticed, and I don't know if it applies to Adelaide because Adelaide's more one big city, whereas the UK is divided into lots and lots of cities and towns. You can tell something about a city or a town by whether or not its supermarket charges a deposit for trolleys.
Yes.
Because you go to some towns and the trolleys are like, yes, take the trolley and use the trolley and bring it back and we'll all get along. And other places, you just know you're going to have a pound coin if you're going to get one of those trolleys because they don't trust people with the trolleys.
No.
Yeah.
In Traralgon, where I grew up, right, we used to go get trolleys and jam them together to click them in and get the money back. That was like a way of getting some money to buy some lollies and so forth, which does say a little bit about Traralgon. Yeah. There's another place up here, Burnside, where I think every time you get a trolley, you get a bonus champagne glass with it of champagne.
Champagne holder on the handles.
Holder on the trolley, that's right.
Yeah.
You never have a pen. You don't have a chalkboard at home. You don't actually do a list at all, is what you're saying.
No,
you do a mental list.
I just do it from muscle memory. And then I will sometimes say to my wife, I'm doing the shop. If there's anything specific you want, send me a text. And while I'm driving there, I'll get a text with like 6 or 7 key things that I may forget.
Yeah.
I don't like lists and writing things down. I almost like my wife will sometimes say 3 or 4 things I need to get. And she'll be like, will you remember them? Or do I need to send you a text? And I'm like, I'll remember them. And if it gets to like beyond 4 or 5, I might say, oh, okay, send me a text. But it's almost like admitting defeat if I have to have things written down.
I trust, if I have one thing, I'm like, send me a text. I don't trust my memory at all. I'll definitely forget it.
I see that as like questioning my competence if I have to be sent a list.
Oh, okay.
This is a character flaw of mine. I realise.
Yes. Oh, indeed.
just so you know I know. It's a huge character flaw.
Yeah, I will no doubt be making, if I'm doing the shopping, if I'm having to go down and get it and all that kind of stuff, I'm so don't know what I'm doing anymore that I will call back several times and go, is this right? I'm not beneath FaceTiming the shelf and go running along. She goes, go along, not that one. And I've got the FaceTime camera with my finger because I'm useless.
Whereas I'm so resistant to being told what to do in any way, I take a shopping list as a way of being told what to do. We would like to thank once again our loyal and much loved episode sponsor, Hover. Hover make the Unmade podcast possible.
Need we say more? I mean, sure. I mean,
we should probably say what Hover do.
If people don't know what Hover do, they don't deserve Hover. That's what I say.
Okay.
I mean, Hover might have a different view. But
I think Hover probably do have a different view. Hover is a domain registrar. This is a place you go to register names for websites and things like that, like timhine.com, bradyharron.net. Every dot something you can imagine, Hover have got, even the really obscure, weird ones. They've got them all. They've got them very reasonably priced, and they've got a really simple, excellent website with a great user interface. Everything about domain registration and management is made easy by Hover. Go to hover.com/unmade, hover.com/unmade, to buy your first domains, perhaps, and you will get 10% off if you use that code I said, the /unmade.
Here's something we don't talk about with Hover very much. They have email. They do email that flows out of the domain names and so forth. You can have a small mailbox or a big mailbox.
Check it out, people. Check it out. Look, Tim's throwing new features at you that you didn't even know existed.
Whew. As many emails as you need, personalised, into your domain, comes out of your domain name. IMAP, POP and webmail, which I've never in my life worked out what the difference is, but I know it's very important that it's different when you're setting up your email.
Tim, you are very fast getting out of your depth here. I can literally see you sinking.
Let me name one more.
But Hover make it all easy. It's also really easy to take existing domains that you may have with another registrar mistakenly and transfer them over to Hover. That's something I do. I actually have a new project which I hope to be announcing this month, which I'm very excited about. And the first thing I have to do to get it prepared, which I'll be doing probably this week, is registering the domain. It's one of the first things I do on any new project. I already know the domain I want. I'm going to go and buy it on Hover this week. And if I go hover.com/unmade, 10% off.
There you go. Will you use the 10% off via Unmade?
I don't think I'm supposed to do it because, we are the Unmade podcast. I think I might have to. I technically probably should pay full price. But the prices are very reasonable anyway, so
there you go.
Maybe I'll get someone to buy it for me.
Right.
Like getting someone to go and buy cigarettes for you, And now it's time for Spoon of the Week. Tim has delved into the Hine family collection once again. His family legacy, his inheritance, which he shares with us on a regular basis. What spoon collected by your late father and current mother do you have to share with us?
This is one of those inheritances that you get to dip into while your parents still with you, which is a great blessing. I'm sure the spoons are mentioned in the will, but we're able to. Not only am I able to get access to them now, but I'm able to share them with the Unmade podcast listeners. The other thing that's a great benefit of that is I'm also able to check back with Mum as to, where this spoon came from. Unfortunately, that's not helped us on this occasion because she has no idea and doesn't think she's ever seen this spoon before. The spoon that I've got today is not got any writing on it whatsoever. And on the front or the back, it does, though, have a lovely little picture, like a little painting, although the person in the painting is sort of embossed a little bit with... in gold. I'm sure it's not real gold.
It's a golden person.
It's a golden person who is,
Looks like
I think...
a Silver Surfer, but made of gold.
Indeed. Instead of surfing, it does look like a he, is...
I think it's a he.
Bowling. Lawn bowling.
Yeah.
Would you agree that's lawn bowls? They've got that square thing they stand on.
He's on a green, like, grassy floor, and there's a blue sky with clouds, and then he's all gold, and he's standing on a mat, which lawn bowlers do. You have to have a foot on the mat when you bowl. I'm sure he's in a lawn bowls pose there. I'm sure this is some kind of lawn bowls spoon.
He's standing on a green. It's a bowling green. And it's weird because both feet are on the mat, so it does look a little bit like he's surfing down the bowling green, which is not possible, or on a magic carpet ride of some kind, but he's leaning quite a bit forward, which can't be safe on a magic carpet. Doing lawn bowls. Now, listen, my parents never played lawn bowls, even though they also were born old and were always old. But a lovely man around the corner who I used to call Pop, he wasn't my real Pop, but he was a lovely man. He used to do bowls, and perhaps he gave this to Mum and Dad, but I don't know why it doesn't say something like Terralgan Bowls Club or something on it. It's a purely, like, it's Universal Bowls spoon.
Is there anywhere where it could have fallen off, like the other side, or is there any indication of something that's fallen off the spoon? No?
No. No. It's it may be produced by some generic spoon manufacturer for lawn bowlers everywhere, and then you can insert your particular local club on there, but I can't see where that would fit because it would diminish the picture. So it's just generally a lawn bowls spoon, which is good. I have to say, I've played lawn bowls a few times for like a work retreat for fun, and it's become quite a thing in Australia. You go along, and even though it's generally old people, you go along, you have a drink, but it's great. It's great fun. Have you ever done it?
I don't think I have. Can you see yourself becoming a lawn bowler later in life?
You know what? I can see myself doing it more than once a year. I don't think... You know how people seem to go, like croquet, they go and do it like every day or every week. I don't think so. But doing it as an idea every now and then with a few people you get together is a great idea, because you stand there and you talk and you get really competitive, and it's fun and it's hard, and you're outside and you walk, and yeah, it's good fun. It's certainly a good event for like a work retreat sort of day, and then you go and have a barbecue or something, or a party. Yeah. So I have some lawn bowls in my office, actually, some indoor carpet bowls that I whip out down the work carpet every now and then, which is a lot of fun. I found them in Dad's stuff. They're pretty cool, old retro ones.
Let me ask you this, because quite often we seem to go to your mum for information about the spoons, and I'd say 9 times out of 10 she doesn't shed a whole lot of light on things. If your dad was still with us,
yes,
do you think he would be a more reliable source of information, or would he be equally useless?
Oh, no, he would know a lot more. And if he didn't know, he'd come up with something. That's the thing with Dad. If your Achilles heel is being told what to do in the shopping department, my father's Achilles heel is saying the words, I don't know.
Yes.
He was famous hearing someone say something that he could never have known and then going, "Oh yes," at the end of it. Agreeing effusively and comprehensively.
Thank you for clarifying the points there that I already knew.
Yeah, that's Dad.
Now, it comes to the prize part of the show. Just a little bit of housekeeping here, because I have spent the last 2 full days packing and posting prizes and rewards and treats and all sorts of things for Unmade Podcast stakeholders. If you'd like to become one of them, go to patreon.com/unmadefm. Puts you in the running for all sorts of cool stuff. There's a link in the notes. But it does give me cause to give my usual reminder. If you are already a Patreon supporter, please make sure your address is up to date and correct so that any things I might send will come to you. Because otherwise they're just going to go to some place you used to live or some wrong address. And I can't be resending and redoing stuff afterwards because it's already a huge job. So now's a good time. Go and check you've got the right address. Patreon.com/unmadefm. Now, this is the time where one of our supporters wins an Unmade Podcast souvenir spoon, minted and struck here in the UK. Let me call up my computer while Tim gets out his guitar to tell you who the winner of the spoon is. Okay, you ready, Tim? Oh, yeah. Gregory L. from Wisconsin, I think.
Oh, we have a few from Wisconsin.
Gregory L. Well done. Okay. The Sofa Shop mixtape, which is another of our unique gifts that can only be obtained by being a Patreon supporter and then being lucky. And this is going to Stephen from Boise, Idaho.
You know, I think that chord sequence has a bit of promise. I was fiddling around with it earlier, waiting for you to log on, and I reckon I could do something with it, but...
You've got to incorporate the name of the winner into the song, though. You can't just play instrumentals after I say each name.
I'm not struck with inspiration by anyone's name yet. I'm just waiting for something to come.
Well, there you go, Stephen. You've been told.
Yep, sorry, Steve.
All right.
I'll try and fit him into the third verse somewhere later on.
Let's go to people who are going to get some Spoon of the Week trading cards. We have 5 winners here. First, we have Luke from Quebec in Canada.
Ah, there we go. See, Luke, Quebec, Canada. There's something you can do lyrically with that.
Okay, go on.
Luke, Quebec, Canada. Luke, Quebec, Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's something there.
I see.
Quebec. It's fun to say Quebec, isn't it?
Yeah.
Luke.
And Canada
Quebec.
strikes again here.
Canada.
We've got Zhang from Ontario.
Ontario. That's a nice word too, isn't it? Zhang. Luke. Lang. Zhang.
Zhang, Zhang.
Zhang,
I
Zhang.
shot you down, Zhang, Zhang.
How do you
That awful sound, Zhang, Zhang.
how do you spell Zhang?
Xiang.
Oh, that's great. That's cool.
I know. It's cool.
I might call the album Zhang.
Yeah, that's the album. That's the title track. Also, again, Canada. Eric B. from Canada.
Eric B.
Nah.
Sounds like a hip hop artist, except for the Eric bit.
You don't. There are not enough Erics doing hip hop.
But the B bit, you know.
Yeah. And then, you're not going to believe it, Tim. Another Canadian, 4 in a row.
Whoa.
Jared from British Columbia.
Jared from British Columbia.
Or from Vancouver. Vancouver, can you work with that better?
Quebec.
Jared.
Yeah, this is something Jared. Yeah.
And breaking the streak of Canadians, the last but not least winner of collector cards is Balal from Derby in the UK.
Balal. Oh, see, that'll rhyme with everything.
Yeah,
Balal.
Nice.
My dog. Bilal. My dog. What are the three names of the Canadians again?
There are 4. Luke, Jean, Eric, and Jared.
Jean, Eric, and
Jared.
Jared. Luke, Jean, Eric, and Jared. Luke, Jean, Eric, and Jared. Luke, Jean, Eric, and Jared from all over Canada.
Yeah. They're the Canadian Beatles, those 4.
Whatever happened? Luke, John, Eric, and Jared.
Who's your favourite? I've always preferred Eric.
I was always a Luke man. Luke's the leader, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters, especially Luke, Jean, Eric, and Jared.
Eric and Jared.
Prizes will be coming the way of those people next time I do a big mailing session, probably in about a month's time. Now, we're short on time. We're skipping Moon of the Week this week. And we're also skipping Tim's idea. So
yes.
there's two segments that most people like to skip. We're skipping them for you.
Oh, man. Play the hover ab again, folks, if you're really...
We're going to do another 2
more
hover
popular
ads.
segment than it is the Moon of the Week in my idea.
We're going straight to the breaking of the KFC Fast.
Yes.
Let me set the scene, Tim. Tell me if I've got this right.
Yep.
You quite like KFC. I think this is well documented. It's a bit of a...
I think that's ground we've covered, yes.
Yeah. You decided to forego KFC for all of 2022, sort of for health reasons and a bit of a show of solidarity with family members. Everyone was trying to get on a bit of a health bandwagon, and that was your thing you did.
Is that how it came up?
That's what you told us.
Discussion?
That's what you told us. Yeah.
All right.
I later found out you had, without telling me, gone off meat completely for the year, barring a couple of accidents and a couple of moments where you had a little bit of meat for various reasons. But you were pretty much vegetarian all year. But it was well known you were going to have KFC on New Year's Day. There was a special ceremony had been planned.
Yes.
Tell us about what the plan was, Tim. Tell us how it was going to unfold.
Well, for about 9 months or so, I've had an ongoing conversation with a bunch of civilians who are also friends and part of the church here, and which include a Colonel Katrina, about what we're going to do to break the fast, because they also joined in solidarity with the journey. They were quite inspired by the leadership that I showed abstaining from KFC.
Were they KFC fans also?
Oh, yes, very heavily, particularly Colonel Katrina.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And so they went through it too. So he said, why don't we get together on New Year's Day and break the fast together in a grand celebration. And so we did. We planned it. We ended up doing it at their house. And so the job fell to me to buy it on the way.
Okay, so this first piece of audio we're going to play for you is Tim, and I believe his wife also, going to the drive-through KFC to buy the loot, the goods. And I will warn you in advance, this is one of the most painful pieces of audio listening you are ever going to endure. I found this absolutely torturous. But we'll play it and then we'll come back to it. So here it is.
Well, here we are, driving into a KFC for the first time in a year. Something that the car habitually does on its own, like muscle memory. It's flowing nicely into the drive-thru. Here we go. Oh, look, they've put up new snazzy screens everywhere. This is very...
They've done up this place.
They have done it up. Wow, this is really... It's like they've done it up for us. For me.
Maybe.
Hi,
we're using the KFC app today.
Hi, yeah. And I've got a few things I want to order here because I've got some people I'm buying for. So can I list them through and you tell me what the right, the best deal is, really?
Sorry, what were you after?
I want a whole range of things for a large group of people.
Yep.
Okay.
Like a feast, like one of our shared meals?
Yeah, but let me say a few specific things first that I know they definitely want. A Zinger burger.
A Zinger burger.
Double crunch burger.
Like a double tender.
And 3 tenders with sweet and sour sauce. So it looks like it's a double crunch with 3 tenders and sweet and sour sauce.
Yep, so that's a double tender burger and 3 tenders with sweet and sour. Anything else?
Yes. Another Zinger burger, please.
Another Zinger burger.
And another Zinger burger, please.
Yeah, it looks like you got 4 burgers there. We often bring that one into like a burger feast. It comes with 2 large chips, 6 nuggets, and a regular popcorn for a bit of a discounted price.
Yeah, sure. If you want to,
Yep.
you remember which burgers it was that I wanted.
So it was the 2 Zingers and 2 double tender burgers, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Then I want like a bucket of chicken. So
Yeah, we got the original recipe chicken.
yes.
Yep. How many pieces were you after? We can do the 6-piece add-on, which comes at like a bit of a cheaper price. Oh, sorry, the 4-piece add-on, which comes at a cheaper price because of the shared meal that you're getting. And I can do like 2 lots of those if you're after that to get 8 pieces total.
What's a larger bucket?
The largest bucket would be 21 pieces. We can do a 15 as well.
Let's do a 15 piece.
Yeah, and 15 pieces of original recipe. Anything else?
Hang on, 4, 8, 12, 16. Yes, hang on, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15,
That was all,
18.
sorry.
No, let's do 21, please.
Yeah, let's make it 21.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
anything else today?
yeah, like 3 large. Like, is there like a lot of fries to go with that and
Yeah, it already
coleslaw?
comes with 2 large chips with your burger feast. We after adding on the 2 sides for $5.95, which is like a discounted lot of to get the 2 large chips.
Yes, please.
Yeah, adding 2 sides for $5.95, and that was 2 large chips. Anything else?
And have we got any? We haven't got any coleslaw, have we? So
Oh no, I can add on a large coleslaw also for a little bit cheaper to that one.
yeah, great.
Yep. Anything else?
Wicked wing.
Oh, and wicked wings, thanks.
Yeah, we after like 10 of those pieces, so I can do 15 as well.
No, let's just do 10.
Yep, some wicked wings. Anything else?
No, I think we're finally all good, thanks.
Yep, and can I just do a chocolate mousse with that one? We have one for $2.95 or a special 2 for $4.95.
No, thank you.
No worries.
Oh, is
Drive
there
down, mate.
any popcorn chicken in that whole
It
deal?
comes with just 1 regular popcorn.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, just drive down, mate.
Thank you.
Just to double check that one.
Oh, I won't remember, but just 1 large coleslaw, is it?
Get
2.
another.
We need another large coleslaw, please. And how many chips is that altogether?
4 large chips.
Yeah, that's enough.
Is that all good?
1 more chip, sorry, mate, as
4
well.
large chips.
Thanks, mate. Oh, wow, that is heavy. So is there 21 bucket in there, is it?
It's in 2 separate boxes.
Oh, okay.
Also, 2 separate boxes.
Okay, can I grab a bucket as well?
Oh, we don't have the buckets anymore, so that's why it's put it in 2 separate boxes.
Oh, okay, no worries. Thanks. Oh, we didn't get any drinks.
Go back.
Hang on. Wait. We forgot to buy some drinks. Have you got 1.25s? We'll get a Sunkist and a...
Pepsi, whatever.
Is there a lemon... Oh, and a Pepsi. A 7-Up. Yeah, 7-Up and a Sunkist. Thanks.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
That was awful.
What?
That was
What was
like
awful?
it was like some old person who'd never used technology before or had never been through a drive-through. You're like, I'll have 1 Zinger burger, please, and another Zinger burger, please.
No, I tell you what.
It was all over the shop.
Okay,
You didn't
okay.
understand. You were like, I don't understand how this works. Can you put it together? And like, so you were like some kind of old man that had never ordered food before. And the guy at the other end also was terrible because he didn't understand what he was dealing with. I understand why you were ordering the way you were, obviously, because there were all sorts of competing demands, but he didn't get it either. And he was like, you would say something and then he'd go, can I get you anything else? Like, it was obvious you were going to be there
Yes,
for a
yes,
while doing
yes,
all this
yes.
stuff. And it was like 2 people from different generations and different worlds trying to communicate and doing a really, really poor job. Oh, God. It drove me crazy. I just wanted to be in the car and say, Tim, you idiot, do this, do that.
Let me explain in my defence how it came out the way it is. The reason is because the orders came through in a haphazard way via WhatsApp, right? So this was, I was like, they sent on Snapchat what they want. I said, send the orders in and I'll get things on the way. And then, of course, things disappear on Snapchat. So I said, actually, no, WhatsApp them. So they came through, but different, like members of the families and couples were sending through different things. A zinger for me, and then, let's get some coleslaw, then a zinger for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it wasn't like I consulted the WhatsApp, made a nice list. Oh, there's 3 zingers and there's 2 lots of this kind of chicken and then there's this. So I was actually looking through the WhatsApp while I was talking to the guy, and that's why it came out as messy.
You could have done a bit of consolidation beforehand, though.
I could have, yes. But by then I'd pulled up and the pressure was on, and I was a bit out of practice, to be honest. But
it was painful. Whatever the excuse was, the guy at the other end must have been thinking, "Who is this guy? Has he never had KFC before?" Not realising he was dealing with one of Australia's great KFC eaters.
That's right. I do think I have more experience than he does doing my bit than he does doing his bit. But I do think he could have listened. Let me list through everything that I want and then tell me how it all comes together.
It's like he wanted you to... The thing is, it's like they want you to stop ordering, right? They keep saying, "Is that it? Is that it?" And you keep saying, no, there's more. Is that it? Is that it? And then when you finally say, "Yeah, that's it," then he starts offering you more stuff.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
This,
yeah.
And it's like, for God's sake, like it's like you wanted the order to end. I finally say it's over, and now you're trying to. But of course, the one thing to emerge from this, which is, I think scandalous, and that is KFC phasing out buckets, and yet using buckets as their primary marketing thing.
I know.
Like, they market those buckets like crazy. Bucket, bucket, bucket. And you can watch the cricket and everyone's wearing buckets on their head and let's have a bucket, let's have a bucket. And you and I had this problem when we went to KFC, and then you had it again, where they say, "Oh, we don't actually give you buckets."
It's ridiculous.
Like, it's almost like bucket is a collective noun for chicken or something, and they don't actually have buckets. Like,
No.
it's
I know,
crazy.
it's a disgrace. It is. It's ridiculous. He did. It's not even he said, "I won't give it to you." He says, "We don't have them anymore."
No.
It's like their most successful marketing campaign is suddenly costing them money because everyone wants it. And it's like, didn't you build that into the idea? What if this becomes really popular? Like,
Buckets of KFC have been a big deal since we were kids. I remember getting buckets of KFC. Like, it's legendary. Like, when you and I went to KFC and they didn't give it, we ordered a large number of pieces of chicken and they gave it to us in a box, and we said, no, we're here for the bucket. They did have a stash of buckets.
Yes.
And they said, "All right, if you ask, we'll give you a bucket." But you couldn't even get one here. I think that's like... That's the only thing worse is when they haven't got chicken, which has happened to KFC from time to time. but like, not having buckets is inexcusable.
yeah, that diminished the experience somewhat, I have to say. Yeah.
Because walking in with a bucket of chicken under your arm as well is like such a statement of intent.
I know, and you have it in your arm. Whereas with a box, it ends up in a bag, and it's not quite the same. You don't see the red and white, and
Terrible. Anyway, Tim's made the purchase.
Yep.
Eventually. He forgot the drinks, of course.
yes, had to back up.
After all that.
The classic thing is the big four-wheel drive behind us had pulled up to the window, so we had to do the old, toot and move back kind of thing. But they seemed to understand what had gone on.
They're like, guy wants more chicken.
What's even more? That's right.
That's Tim Hines' car.
Fair back up, everyone. Give him room. This could take a while.
Anyway,
he's got the platinum card. He's gonna drain the place before he finishes up.
So anyway, you've got your stash. You've gone around to Colonel Katrina's. We're going to play the next section, and can I just point out how wonderful the sound of Australian birds in the background is in this next section? Do enjoy it, people.
All right, well, the moment has come. After a whole year, and I can't even remember how far back into December 2021 it was, but that was the last time I ate some KFC until today. Today is New Year's Day 2023. It is also KFC Day. I've joined together tonight with a few other civilians who have been on the KFC Fast journey through 2022 to join together and to celebrate and break the fast. This is our KFC breakfast. It's beautiful. We've got a massive amount of chicken, 21 pieces. It's an outdoor area. We're under a gazebo. It's a beautiful hot day, as it is here in the new year of the Southern Hemisphere, here in Adelaide, Australia. And by golly, am I looking forward to licking my fingers after this chicken experience. This is the longest I've ever been in my entire life without KFC. Finally, I'm coming back to it. I've poured a little bit of Sun-Kissed, and which is my chosen drink. You have to get from the Pepsi range when you're at KFC in Australia, and I imagine around the world. So I can see now we're here amongst the bag, and we're pulling out. Well, there's a few fries being stolen. There's a range of Zinger burgers and other choices that have been sent through on the WhatsApp. There's also, I must say, a little bit of choice rosé as well being enjoyed because it's summer here. And there are 2 boxes of chickens. We got a bucket, but they said, I'm sorry, we don't do buckets anymore, so you've got 2 boxes. And I nearly threw it back in his face, I have to say. But I said, can I have a bucket anyway, just for show? And he goes, no, we don't actually have them anymore. So I'm like, wow, great. Okay, you've just ruined this entire experience. You wait a whole year and they don't have a bucket. Friends, if you do have buckets, store them up because apparently they're being discontinued. But anyway, well, here we go. A massive steel gardening bucket has been provided to me, but I don't think... It's more of a champagne bucket, I think, than it is a KFC bucket. All right, here we are. I have in front of me now a plate with a bunch of fries and some coleslaw and 2 pieces of KFC. As is tradition, I'm starting with a drumstick. The first KFC I've eaten in 12 months is going to be a piece off the side of a drumstick, which I think is the first piece you grab every time, really much, isn't it? And it smells pretty friggin' amazing. Let's give it a go. Oh, it's juicy. Oh, it's weird just to eat chicken in a year. I've not eaten meat for a year, so that's weird in itself. But look, I want to eat... The skin's good. I like the skin. I'm not so sure about the chicken, to be honest. The texture of the chicken tastes a little bit weird, but the skin is nice. It smells nice and it tastes... I can feel my whole body just like relaxing. It's like a warm feeling is coming over me. It's like a spiritual experience. It's like... Yeah, no. It's like things have been put right. Everything is right in the world. Really, oh man, that's good. I can feel my organs shutting down. That familiar feeling of the body just seizing, relaxing, atrophying. Oh, that's good. That's nice. All right, I am gonna have a little bit more. I did wonder about this because when I cooked it at home, I wasn't so sure. But I tell you, now I've got the real thing from the Colonel. It's a little bit overcooked, I have to say. A bit unusual for Mitchum. They've given us some older bits. Maybe I'll try the other box. There's some wicked wings down the end. I'm going to move on to them next. Definitely some wicked wings. There's a few other zingers being eaten as well. I only grab a zinger when I'm driving somewhere and I need to keep a hands-free. Never get into the chicken on that occasion. But look, I'd have to say this is a welcome return of a fortnightly practice that has been long missed. The drought is over. The fast is over. Hallelujah! Oh, well, I must say that was delicious and satisfying. And you reach that point somewhere during the meal where you go, you know what, I'm not hungry anymore. I've had enough. And you just keep going. And I have to say, that was probably a mistake. But it was very delicious and it was finger licking. And I was licking my fingers, I must say. I have to say, less so the chicken, more the flavouring. And I think that's largely the case. It's one of the great paradoxes of KFC is the actual food part of it isn't the best bit of it. It's the garnish, the beautiful skin, the herbs and spices, and the way it's cooked. Just absolutely fantastic. But anyway, that I have to say I've now got that regret feeling, which is all part of the KFC experience. I'm feeling a little bit full, and I've staggered over here to this couch, and I'm just going to sit here for a few minutes and enjoy what has been a little bit under the fingernail still to lick the fingers, but I have to say that's about it.
All right, there we go. Tim, I mean,
Yep.
the audio speaks for itself. It sounds like a pretty typical KFC experience to me. The joy, the pleasure, the regret, all the full range. It's like stages of grief with KFC. Like you go through this the 11 herbs and emotions of eating KFC, and the deed is done. Reflecting on it now, like sometime later, a few days later, can you shed any more light on the experience and your steps forward from here?
I do. It does highlight to me the importance of a quality KFC. Like, in my mind, the one that I've been thinking about all this time has been the best of the best. And you do have to factor in the fact that every now and then, it's not the best KFC you've ever had. So that was a little bit disappointing. But that's one thing I have in my mind, and I think it really does come down to I am more of a quality than quantity man when it comes to KFC these days. Definitely.
Connoisseur.
Yes, that's right. So I would rather have, 5 good pieces than 10 bad pieces, for instance.
It's like a kind of a wine expert. Do you sometimes like chew your KFC and then spit it out into a KFC bucket next to you? And so,
if I had a bucket, maybe I would.
Yeah. That's what the bucket's for, isn't it?
That's up there with the time that you suggested I should have the skin as a KFC patch to get off KFC, like a cigarette patch. Just wear it behind your neck. Oh, dear. Oh, that's awful. Yeah.
So, can I just say, before we continue with your path, your journey, which is what it's all about, is I actually went and had some KFC last night, just so I could almost in solidarity, and just so I had something to contribute. And as you know, I don't usually get pieces of chicken. I usually go for the Zinger burger. Which can also be hit and miss. But the last few times I've gotten pieces of chicken, I've gone for 2 pieces of chicken and a Zinger burger, because I wanted to get more into I wanted to live your experience.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'm realising, the pieces of chicken are what it's about. Like, KFC chicken pieces it's messier, and you might not get as much food in your belly, but it's really nice. And the zingers can really be hit and miss. So last night, my 2 pieces of chicken were lovely. Yeah. But my zinger was a bit dry and it wasn't quite there. I'm coming around to your way of thinking and realising that maybe I've got to go back to old school and just get the pieces of chicken and not the burgers.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, man. I like to hear that. It's not that I never have the zingers. I just reserve that for when I'm driving, because it is hard to drive with the chicken. It's just sort of a standby. And pulling over on the side of the road and eating it in your lap I'm not quite at that level. But
are you well, before I ask you about what you're going to do next, tell me about other people at the table. Colonel Katrina, for example, breaking her fast as well. Was she equally enraptured by the experience?
I'd have to say that Colonel Katrina, to my surprise, did say that she was a little bit underwhelmed. I do think we had built it up quite a bit, and so she was a bit like, oh yeah, it's just KFC, which is wonderful. But I said, well, normally KFC we only have to wait a fortnight, and then it's been a long day, and then there we go. But when you've been waiting a year, there is a sense by which you start to imagine it as being something. It's putting it under a lot of pressure. So she was going, "Oh, it's good to have it. Good to be back in the saddle." But she did note the reality that maybe we had built it up a little bit too much. So this is why.
Are you saying it was too long a drought?
I think so. This is why people say. This is why KFC would never recommend that you go 12 months between having it. That's not recommended at all. Fortnightly is the famous. Fortnightly is the time. It allows your body to recover and your taste buds.
What are you going to do though? Because there was some talk about vegetarianism being on the cards, but you love your KFC. What's your 2023 chicken plan?
Look, in terms of the vegetarianism, I'm going to. I was very strict with it this year. Like, under no circumstances, we're making something at home. No, I'm not having it. I think I'm probably
except those 4 or 5 times.
Well, they were accidents, but yes, apart from those times.
Well, your homemade KFC wasn't an accident, and you said
Oh,
another
no,
one
no,
of the
but
times.
that was,
at another
you
one,
know.
that was for me though. At another one of
Yeah.
the times, you said you did it to be polite.
Yeah, someone's home. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Whereas I hadn't yet got into the practice of sort of texting ahead and going, look, we'll have anything, but I'm not eating meat at the moment, that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
people generally are like, oh, no worries. Yeah, great. We'll have fish. So I think I'm just going to be largely still vegetarian, but probably not be strict about it. I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed. There are a couple of lovely dishes that my wife makes that I look forward to having again. And on Christmas Day, for instance, I have to say I did kind of miss not having any meat at all. And I think every now and then, if I have a fast food, it would probably be a KFC from time to time.
Are you going to have KFC in 2023 then? You are going to have the odd one as well?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. At what kind of interval are we talking?
Well, somewhere between annually and fortnightly. Let's say somewhere in between there. I'm not on a fast. I'm back out there. But I would say nowhere near as regularly as I once was. I'm not going back to my old ways.
Speaking of Christmas meals, by the way, I have another theological question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went to a Christmas church service for Christmas, and it was like a family service. And at one point, they had this song, which I think was like a cover of some other song by One Direction or something, but they'd tweaked it or something. But anyway, the idea of the song, which was being sung by these puppets and stuff, was that Christmas Day is the best day ever. Christmas Day is the best day, because Jesus is born, and Jesus is pretty important to Christians.
Yes.
Is Christmas the best day though? I argued at the end to the person I was sitting next to. Surely Easter is the best day ever.
Yes.
Surely Easter is the day that you should be singing and going crazy about. And the birth of Jesus is almost like, he had to be born someday. Obviously it wasn't in December anyway, but that's by the by. I felt like they were putting too much importance on Christmas.
Absolutely.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. Only one can be the best day, and I think it should be Easter.
You're absolutely correct. Easter Day, Easter Sunday, as we call it, is the holiest or most important or most significant week of the year. There's in the Christian calendar, no question.
Is Christmas, from a religious standpoint, from a Christian standpoint, getting too much overrated?
Yes, it is. It's important because not just because it's how wonderful that Jesus came. It's significant because it's when God decided not to be God without us. God joined in with creation, and his son became human and was born. So there is something wonderful about it. It's not just jingle bells and snow and stuff and he started his life. There is something wonderful and miraculous that happened at that point. But if you look at the four Gospels, well, you get like at the start of Luke, there's a bit, and I think at the start of Matthew, there's a little bit about the Christmas story, but they're all about the death and resurrection. I mean, half of the book of Mark is all about the final week of Jesus' life. So they're all about that. That is Holy Week, if you like, yeah.
There you go, people. You heard it from Tim Hine, who is a Christian minister. Christmas, overrated, not important. Thank you, Tim.
No worries. Downplay. Do you think Christmas will fade now that I've said that? Do you think Christmas will just fade away?
The day Christmas died. Because I was thinking about other famous people, because some famous people do lots of famous stuff, so we end up just celebrating them on their birthday.
Yeah.
But other famous people, we celebrate the famous thing they did. Like I'm sure you don't know Neil Armstrong's birthday. I don't know Neil Armstrong's birthday, but we celebrate the day he walked on the moon.
Yes.
That was the day he did his thing.
Yeah, very good example.
And
yeah.
Yeah, but there are other people who we do just celebrate their birthday as the day because they do lots of things spread out over time. So we just like, okay, we'll celebrate that person's birthday instead. Martin Luther King Jr. maybe. I don't know who else. I'm sure
they have Martin day, don't they? In Martin
that
Luther
on
King
his birthday?
Day. I'm not sure.
wanna
It probably
check if that's
is.
his
I think it's coming up. I think it's in January, where every radio station across America plays U2's song "Pride" over and over. I think that's probably why
It's right. It's the 16th of January. Oh, but that's done on the. It is called. It's the third Monday of January each year, and I think it does map to his birthday roughly. Yeah, he was born January 15. So yeah, it's always close to his birthday, but they put it on a Monday for obvious reasons. So
It's funny that we remember someone like JFK. We remember the day they died more than no one knows when JFK was born. Well, some people know, but no one remembers.
yes, I'm sure someone wrote it down.
but for instance, the Queen. It's the Queen's birthday, the day they're born. Even though she's not Queen when she's born, we do celebrate it not on her birthday, but on a regular interval for her birthday. Or the King now, I guess.
May 29. May 29 was JFK's birth date.
There we go. And he died on November 23rd. Is that right?
22.
Oh, 22.
But that's okay because I think it may have been the 23rd in Australia by then. So
right, yeah, that's how I remember it in 1963.
all right, well, welcome back on the KFC bandwagon, man. I don't know how often you'll be on it, but we're glad to have you back. I'm sure KFC share prices have recovered somewhat.
We spent a lot more time talking about KFC than either Christmas or Easter, so I don't know which is the most significant now in my life. But there you go.
Thank you very much. Did you get your secret words?
Oh, no, damn it. And they're on my hand. I brought it up earlier. In my mind, I brought it up while you were going on about something. I was like going, okay, you've got to fit it in now. You've got to fit it in now.
Yeah.
Just for once, you've got to remember to do it. And I didn't do it. I feel small. I feel diminished, small, like a gnome drinking tea. That's how I feel.
Like a gnome drinking tea. Wow.
Yes, I do. That's how small and thirsty.
You've really painted a picture there. I feel like a gnome drinking tea.